Hey everyone, it's Luke from Printavo with this week's episode of The Weekly. This week we're going to talk about DTF printing. Is DTF printing really going to take over the world? I'll dive in.
Okay, 1 second actually. We created this really cool newsletter called The Weekly. And if you subscribe, the link's in the description, you're going to get a ton of sales and marketing and workflow tips and just general owner's tips that's going to be able to help improve the state of your business. We scour the net for all kinds of these tips, plus pull it from different customers that are doing amazing things. Hopefully you'll find this useful. Again, it's called The Weekly. It's an email every week. Subscribe down below.
So luckily, Jim and Chris from CobraFlex were willing to talk to me about DTF printing. DTF was everywhere at Impressions Expo Long Beach. And if you heard the headline, "Is DTF printing going to take over the world?" you probably assume we're on the cusp of either a revolution in the custom printing industry or somebody's trying to get one over on us. But look, the outlook for DTF printing really breaks down into three distinct camps. The first camp are, of course, the optimists. They say DTF's a really exciting technology. One-off custom garments will be on demand and available at a really reasonable price. So it makes sense that everyone would be interested and the manufacturers would want to sell it. The second camp are the sober evaluators, and they see DTF as a really emergent technology, probably great in the right hands, but not really ready for prime time in a big production shop. So they think it's perfect for certain jobs, certain applications, but it's not going to conquer any industry. And then finally, of course, we have the bitter cynics. They think DTF's a total gimmick, maybe a step above a heat press and a cry cut machine at best. They don't have any respect for this hustle. It's a really broad range of opinions, and it kind of brings up a lot of questions. So what's the deal with this stuff? Is it for real? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Let's dive in. What is DTF printing anyway? Direct-to-film is not a net new technology. And in fact, it's not even really like a printing technique. It's actually a process. So to boil it down to its most basic parts, it's just printing a design onto PET film. An adhesive is applied to that print, and then the design is applied directly to a garment with heat and pressure through a heat press. So why is this everywhere all of a sudden? Well, there's two big reasons that Jim and Chris told me about. The first is that there have been some real advances in the adhesive technology. Since DTF relies on adhesives, it really needs durable, reliable, and fast-acting adhesives. Now, that technology has advanced a lot in the past 10 years. And Jim and Chris wanted to point out that CobraFlex's machines don't use an adhesive powder like most DTF machines. They actually use a liquid-based adhesive. Now, the other reason that DTF is everywhere is because the market has really shifted. Small businesses now can profitably collect and fulfill small custom orders. The holy grail in this industry is still really pressing a button on a website somewhere and a shirt comes out somewhere else that's ready to be shipped. DTF definitely gets us closer to that goal. So really, if you think about this, the implications here are pretty big. If DTF does what its highest and most valuable proponents say that it does, it really unlocks a lot of possibilities for print shops. It's a fast, easy, on-demand system for getting prints at the door. But it's not just a printer. Jim and Chris were really careful to point out it's not just a printer, it's a process. They told me time and temperature and humidity matter a lot. And a lot of the trouble comes down to the adhesives. Since DTF is done through an inkjet printer, inkjet printers love humidity, but the adhesive powders hate it, so you have yin and yang in the same room. So when you buy the printer, take a look at the overall process. If you follow that process, you'll have success. The next question I asked Jim and Chris was, is DTF just putting a sticker on a shirt? I mean, at its most basic, I think everybody looks at this and goes, so you print a sticker and put it on a shirt? But they were like, no, this is not what's going on. And the reason that they told me that that's not what's going on was actually pretty smart. It's because every fabric and every application has a totally different personality. Even the big players say stuff like, oh, it's just a sticker, we can stick it on anything, but that's not really the case. You have to account for time, temperature, and other variables. But they really wanted to point out that you need a really good heat press. It doesn't matter how good your DTF printer is or the adhesives are if you don't have a good heat press. They've walked into shops and seen people have a 1980s heat press, and that's just not going to cut it. The point here is it's not just putting a sticker on a shirt. And I really want to take it deeper than that and say it's not a gimmick. CobraFlex was telling me that they have some really high level clients using DTF printing, for stuff in like sporting and athletic applications, stuff they're under a non-disclosure agreement to talk about. So I think we can kind of discount the bitter cynics. DTF is definitely here to stay. Now, another question is, who is this for? I think judging printed merchandise is always subjective. You have an idea in your mind of what's quality, but it's really obvious that DTF has some real advantages to other types of one-off, on-demand printing techniques. CobraFlex told me that they aren't sure that they have enough levels in what they offer, because someone printing out of their home can do this just like someone printing out of a 50,000 square foot building could probably benefit from it. There have been a lot of hurdles along the way, the climates, different printers, inks, software, but they've really pushed this forward. So the biggest advantage here is that they can apply this film to a huge range of objects. DTF really isn't limited to cotton or like garments or even garments at all. It's been used on glassware, hats, athletic equipment, and even printing complex circuitry. So the pure garment aspect decoration of DTF is something that's really going to mature in the next few years. I want to dive into something that's really important for everyone. DTF is going to become a profitable way to print on-demand custom work. Let's be honest. Pricing in this industry has been a race to the bottom for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. When we had Jack Prince at Print Hustlers Conference 2021, he showed us a price sheet from 1988 that was higher than the prices are today. I mean, that's brutal. So the first words out of most shops' mouth when they talk to CobraFlex are literally, how much can I sell these DTF prints for? Can I finally lower my prices? Can I finally get cheaper? Can I finally compete with a guy down the street that's blowing me out of the water on price? And they told me something wonderful. You should think of your screen printing costs now and keep it exactly the same. They've seen that shops are able to print these things for pennies a piece, and they can stop giving away their business. So I'm not going to go tell you, hey, buy a DTF printer. Jim and CobraFlex team told me that that's the way to go. That's not the case. The case is that this is probably another tool for the right business to really make some waves. Now, we'll see how this goes. And if you have DTF printing in your shop, I really want to hear from you. So is it good? Is it bad? Is it somewhere in between? What are your thoughts? Drop a comment below and let us know. All right, that's it for this episode of The Weekly. We'll see you soon.